So God, thank you for bringing us here on a beautiful Sunday. We just get to enjoy you and your presence, God. That may you just show us how to dive deeper into a relationship with you and how to walk closer and closer with you on a daily basis, God. We love you and pray all this in your name. Amen. So, I don't know if you guys know this or not. I think I've shared this like once or twice, but in case you didn't know, in case you're new here, I actually have a girlfriend, and she serves here in our ministry. Her name's Tatum.
She works at my school.
She does work at your school, and believe it or not, we've been dating 2 years now. This week marks 2 years of us being together and dating. I know. And as I was kind of like reflecting on our relationship this week and all the fun memories that we have together, one kind of stuck out that was very memorable. And believe it or not, it was actually the first time that Tatum cooked dinner for me. Now, if you guys are here on Tuesday nights, we have this thing called T&L. It's our midweek program here at JH78. We usually hang out here at the JH78 room from 6 to 7 p.m. You guys come, we have a good time together. And then from 7 to 9, we dive into the program. We dive into a short message, then go to small groups, and then go into worship. And we have a super fun time. But for us interns and staff, we're usually here all day from like 1 p.m. in the afternoon all the way till like 10 or 11 at night. Way after you guys leave T&L. We're just here hanging out, having a good time, either picking up, cleaning up, setting up, picking up after you guys when you guys leave all your sodas and Capri Suns and everything all over the place. And so, by nature of us being here like 10 hours out of the day, we get hungry. We have to get dinner somehow before you guys get here. And we have two ways that we can do that. We can send a bunch of people to one restaurant, pick up a bunch of mobile orders in this thing that we call Meals on Wheels. Or some of us like to be a little bit more responsible with how we go about eating healthy and not spending a lot of money, so we'll just make our own food. Now, right at the start of our relationship, 2 years ago when I became a director here on staff in GH78, Tatum was gonna be nice and make me dinner. And this is the first time I think she ever made me dinner. And she made me this really good, I think it was like a burrito bowl, so it was like a bowl of chicken, rice, beans, salsa, and then broccoli. And it was a pretty good bowl, I'm not gonna lie. But this was her first time cooking broccoli. And she cooked it in an air fryer. And she didn't really know how to use an air fryer at the time. I already see the look on your face, you're giving me that, uh-oh. Yeah, this was Tatum's first time using an air fryer. So she cooked the broccoli in the air fryer, and she put it on just a little too long. And this broccoli, I tried to eat it to be nice and, be a nice boyfriend. Can you guys stop making shakes with the spoons, please? Thank you. I tried to be nice and eat this broccoli, but I'm not gonna lie, it was probably the worst broccoli I've ever had in my life. It was absolutely burnt, tasted like charcoal, no amount of salt, no amount of lemon, no amount of butter could have cured this broccoli of its disease, okay? It was, the second you put it in your mouth, I tried to taste it, I tried to swallow it. I had to keep shoving it in my mouth in order to get this broccoli down and make myself look like a good boyfriend, be like, oh, you cooked this really good meal. And eventually she's like, hey, you know what, I kind of burnt it. You don't have to eat it if you don't want it. I was like, no, it's totally good. And she's like, no, seriously, just throw it away, it's fine. I was like, okay, so then I finally just threw it away and enjoyed the rest of the bowl. But in that, because I wanted to be a good boyfriend, because I didn't want to hurt her feelings, I just kept eating this gross broccoli that she burnt and made taste like charcoal. And that's kind of the same way that in this passage that we're looking today. We don't realize, but God has authority. I felt bad about eating this broccoli and throwing it away because I didn't want to upset my girlfriend. I didn't want to go about in my own authority and take my own authority in my own hands and go your broccoli sucks, I'm gonna throw it away. But that's because we don't want to make a fuss. I didn't want to make a fuss of my girlfriend's broccoli. And in the same way, we don't want to make a fuss. Sir, can you please put that spoon away? Thank you. We don't want to make a fuss when it comes to scripture. we're entering into a tough passage in Genesis 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. We're going across like 6 chapters today, and we're talking about God's wrath, a time when God absolutely destroys the entire earth. Now, if you like know anything about the Bible, or if you don't, that's totally fine. But if you're entering into church and you're going like, whoa, God destroyed the entire planet? That's kind of gnarly. How could a good God destroy the entire planet that he made? Why would God, if he's so good, why would he do that? And we make this fuss about God and his authority, but what we forget to remember, and what we have to remember, is that author of creation, God has authority over creation. As author of creation, God has authority over creation. In the same way that my girlfriend had authority over broccoli and how she burnt it, and she had the authority to tell me, hey, it's totally fine to throw out your burnt, gross broccoli. And then I did so I wouldn't feel bad, and she wouldn't feel bad. As soon as she gave me that okay, I was totally fine doing it. But in the same way, we kind of forget that God has the authority to do whatever he wants because he's the author of creation. So as we enter into today, I just want to remind you that as author of creation, God has authority over creation. If you're with us at the start of this series, in Genesis 1, God creates the entire world. He creates everything in it. In Genesis 2, he makes mankind in his image, in his likeness, to represent him and be like him. And then in Genesis 3, we go against God's plan, disobey God, and now we live in a fallen world. In Genesis 4, the next page after Genesis 3, we enter into a scene where 2 brothers are trying to bring a sacrifice before God. One brings a better sacrifice, and the other brother gets jealous, so he murders his other brother. And then in Genesis 5, we get this long genealogy showing that generations and generations have passed since Genesis 3 and 4, where brother murders brother. And now we enter into Genesis 6 in verse 5. Go ahead and open your Bibles to Genesis 6, verse 5. And if you're there, say, send it. If you're not, say, hold up. Hold up? All right. Hold up. Genesis 6.
Got it.
First book of the Bible, chapter 6, verse 5. Go ahead and use your Bible app if you need to. But Genesis 6, verse 5. You still need to hold up?
What book of the Bible?
Send it. Are we good?
No.
No?
What book of the Bible do you have?
What book of the Bible? Genesis.
I already know version.
I have the NIV, New International Version. That's the book. That's the version our church loves to use, is the NIV. So, fun fact. All right, verse 5. We're sending it. The Lord saw how great the wickedness on the earth. The Lord saw how great the wickedness of the human race had become on earth, and that every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. The Lord regretted that he made human beings on the earth, and his heart was deeply troubled. So the Lord said, I will wipe from the face of the earth the human race I have created, and with them the animals, the birds, and the wild creatures that move along the ground, for I regret that I have made them. But Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. This is the account of Noah and his family. Now, verse 11. Now the earth was corrupt in God's sight, and was full of violence. God saw how corrupt the earth had become, for all people on earth had corrupted their ways. So God said to Noah, I am going to put an end to all people, for the earth is filled with violence because of them. I am surely going to destroy both them and the earth. So make yourself an ark of cypress wood, make rooms in it, and coat it with pitch inside and out. This is how you are to build it. And God goes on to give Noah this elaborate plan to how to build an ark for all the animals on earth, 2 by 2, male and female, so that he can repopulate humanity and the animal kingdom right after this. God doesn't leave us without a plan. He's going to destroy the entire planet, but he has a plan. And what we fail when we don't realize that God is author of creation and that he has authority over creation, what we fail to realize is that when we fail to live out God's design, he can still make the chaos real life. Even when we fail to live out God's design, He has the ability to make the chaos realign. Even though we've completely destroyed the planet at this time, even though our relationships are absolutely broken, our relationship with God is absolutely broken, even now when people are murdering each other left and right, there's wickedness in the human heart, there's hope because God can make the chaos realign. Now, fun fact, I don't know if I told you guys last time I taught or you were here with us on Saturday service last week, but my mom and I are actually like redoing our house right now. We're completely remodeling like almost everything. Over the last like 2 months or so, my mom decided to get a new couch. We're gonna be repainting the living room because we had to match the paint color to the new couch. Now we're remodeling our bathrooms. Like literally last Friday, my mom's like, hey, our contractor friend has to remodel our bathrooms like this week. So we have to go to Lowe's and Home Depot, pick out tile right now because they're starting on Monday. So this last week we had to drop completely everything and remodel my bathroom. And in that, we're actually going to show you guys a little bit of what it looks like. You can go ahead and throw up the first picture. This is my new bathroom as of yesterday. You find it? Boom. That's my new bathroom after yesterday. Completely new vanity, completely new mirror, new holder thing right there. You can go to the next picture. And there's my beautiful new shower, new paint on the walls, beautiful black, grayish new tile. It looks completely stunning, right? Now a walk-in shower from what used to be this like gross bathtub shower combination. It's now modernized and it looks absolutely immaculate. But before this, at the start of the process last week, as we were picking out tile, the contractor, on the day that we were supposed to start this project, the tile that we picked out, he said that it actually wouldn't work out. We had to pick out like 3 or 4 different tiles, 3 or 4 different designs so that he could go ahead and make this shower. And in that, one of the tiles that we picked out, the main tile, kind of like that dark gray blackish tile, we picked out a similar tile that was bigger, would have been way easier to use, but the contractor said that tile we picked out, it would have actually required a lot more maintenance. It would have required a lot more upkeep, a lot more materials to go ahead and seal it every 6 months. And we were left with a choice. Do we throw out the project, say, hey, you know what, we're not gonna go ahead with this project anymore. You know what, the tile that we picked out, it's not gonna work. You know what, we're just gonna scrap the entire idea. We're not gonna redo the bathroom. It's not worth it. Because it didn't work out the way that we wanted to, we're gonna cancel our project. No. That's like one small aspect of things that could have gone wrong. And instead of throwing out the baby with the bathwater and saying, you know what, we're done, we can't do it, rather than letting our project get absolutely tanked, we just picked out a new tile and we kept going with the thing. Rather than our plan being capsized, completely destroyed like the Titanic, we kept going. And that's what God does with Genesis in this story. That's what God does with humanity in this story. Rather than allowing his plan for humanity to be capsized, completely turned over, destroyed like the Titanic, go under the water, rather than God allowing his plan to be capsized, he takes what's broken and lets it be baptized. Rather than God's plan getting thrown out, him saying, you know what, I'm just going to destroy absolutely everybody. We're going to scrap the entire plan of the world. Rather than killing off everybody, I have a plan for this thing. I have a plan and a greater story that I'm telling that no one's going to see until it actually happens. Rather than God scrapping his plan and letting his plan be capsized, he takes what's broken and lets it be baptized. Now, I don't know if you know what baptism is, but it's this thing in Christianity where once you believe in Jesus, you undergo this ceremony of baptism. You go under the water and you come back out a new creation. It's aligning yourself with the person of Jesus, saying, hey, I'm making an outward statement of an inward reality, saying that I'm going to follow Jesus. I'm going to walk this life with Jesus. And that's what's happening here. God's foreshadowing this beautiful baptism, going, you know what? I'm going to take what's broken and I'm going to make it completely new. I'm going to make a new creation here on earth. And he scraps all of humanity and he starts it fresh. He has a new plan for it. And rather than God allowing his plan to be capsized, he lets what's broken be baptized. I don't know if you guys were with us at the start of the summer. How many of you guys were with us at the start of the summer? Yeah? You guys remember a thing that we did called the overnighter? Yeah. Super fun. We were here all night at the church playing a bunch of fun games, running around. We actually, you guys remember the Zorbs that we were in, the big bubbles you could climb into? You could absolutely yeet each other in these bubbles. That was super fun, right? So, fun fact that you guys don't know, we actually had plans for an even bigger thing that we were going to do. We have this massive blow-up paintball arena here at the church. What we were going to do with that event is we were going to blow up this massive paintball arena, blow up as many Zorbs as we could, and let you guys go ahead and play Zorb soccer. But that didn't work out. For the overnighter, we tried to blow up this massive arena, but the thing had holes in it. It was like 10, 20 years old. It had massive holes in it. We tried patching the holes, but every time we would patch these holes and try and blow this thing up, it would do nothing but fall over. I think we took like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours. All of us guys were trying to push the things up with like these push brooms. Parker was absolutely struggling. Christopher over here was struggling. We were all struggling, like trying to hold this thing up and make it work. And at the overnighter, we had to get this done, otherwise this event wouldn't work out. But after that, we said, you know what? I don't think this is gonna work. Rather than just like scrapping the whole overnighter, rather than saying, you know what, we're not gonna do the event. Rather than canceling the entire thing, giving you guys all your money back, saying, hey, you know what, we're not gonna have fun tonight. We're not gonna hang out with you guys tonight. Rather than letting our plan be completely turned over, capsized, with nothing to show for it, we just took away the airsoft arena, the paintball arena. We just took that away and let it be what it was. We still tried to have Zorb wrestling, and then even that didn't work out. And then finally, we just said, you know what, hey, let's just let the students run each other with a bunch of Zorbs. And that's what you guys did. You guys had fun, right? Yeah? Yeah, you guys had fun, just literally running at each other in these giant bubbles. But if we let our plan be completely capsized, we'd have nothing to show for it. But it was still a fun event because rather than letting our plan fail, we let it be baptized. We took what was broken, changed it a little bit, and made it completely new, and it still worked out. It was still super fun for you guys. And that's kind of what God's doing in this plan with wrecking the entire planet, flooding the entire planet, starting new with creation. Rather than scrapping the entire thing, he takes what's broken, and makes it a completely new creation. And we're going to pick up back in the story in Genesis 8. If you're there, go ahead and flip over to Genesis 8. I'm going to throw up this. There you go. Genesis 8, verse 18. Then the waters flooded the earth for 150 days. But God remembered Noah and all the wild animals and the livestock that were with him in the ark, and he sent a wind over the earth, and the waters receded. Now, in verse 14, by the end of the 27th day of the second month, the earth was completely dry. Then God said to Noah, come out of the ark, you and your wife, and your sons, and your wives. Bring out every kind of living creature that is with you, the birds, the animals, and the creatures that move along the ground, so they can multiply on the earth and be fruitful and increase in number on it. So Noah came out with his sons and his wife and his sons' wives. All the animals and all the creatures that move along the ground and all the birds, everything that moves on the land came out of the ark, one kind after the other. Then Noah built an altar to the Lord, and taking some of all the clean animals and clean birds, he sacrificed burnt offerings on it. The Lord smelled the pleasing aroma and said in his heart, never again will I curse the ground because of humans, even though every inclination of the human heart is evil from childhood, and never again will I destroy all living creatures as I have done. Now, after this, God gives this beautiful covenant, this beautiful promise to Noah. And in Genesis 9, it says this. And God said, this is the sign of the covenant I am making between me and you and every living creature with you, a covenant for all generations to come. I have set my rainbow in the clouds, and it will be a sign of the covenant between me and the earth. Whenever I bring clouds over the earth and the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will remember my covenant, my promise between me and you and all living creatures of every kind. Never again will the waters become a flood to destroy all life. Whenever the rainbow appears in the clouds, I will see it and remember the everlasting covenant between God and all living creatures of every kind. And God gives this promise after the flood, after destroying every creature, after blessing Noah. He gives this promise: I'm never going to destroy the planet again. I'm never going to destroy every creature with a flood again. And he gives us this promise, this sign of a promise of a rainbow. Now, can I nerd out on you guys for like 2 seconds? You guys know I'm kind of a nerd, right? Can I nerd out on you guys? All right.
Nerd it all.
We're going to nerd it all. All right. That word rainbow right there, it's actually in Hebrew, the original language of the Bible. It's the word kashet. Okay? Go ahead and say kashet. Kashet. All right. Now, this time when you say it, give a little to the cut. Kashet. Kashet. The word rainbow there is the word kashet. That is the Hebrew word kashet. And the beautiful thing about the word kashet is it's an ambiguous word, meaning it can have 2 different meanings. It can either mean rainbow, like in the context of the story, or it can also mean bow, as in like a compound bow, a recurve bow, like a bow of war. What this word here is doing is it's actually having a double meaning. It's this double sign that God is saying, you know what? I'm going to promise not to show my wrath against humanity in the same way that I did. I'm not going to take up arms. I'm not going to take up my bow against humanity in the way that I just did. Rather than aiming his bow, his weapon of war, at us, he hangs it up. And if it's no longer aiming at us, and it's pointing up, where is it pointing? Where's it pointing? Up. Where's up?
That way.
Or the sky.
That way. The sky. What's in the sky?
Jesus.
Jesus. Heaven.
God.
What God's doing with this promise and this sign is he's foreshadowing this beautiful promise that rather than destroying all of humanity, rather than pouring out his wrath on all of humanity, whenever we sin, whenever we fall short, whenever we curse, whenever we wreck our relationship with our mom, talk back to our mom, act dishonorably, whenever we watch things on our phones that we're not supposed to be watching, whenever we're doing things we're not supposed to be doing, whenever we sin, this promise is showing, you know what? God's not going to pour out his wrath on us. 1,500 to 2,000 years later, comes along this person named Jesus, the Son of God, God himself saying, you know what? I'm going to take on the full wrath of God for you. On the cross, he's going to die for you and I, take on the full wrath of God. He's going to take up this sign, this promise, take on God's kashet, take on the full wrath of God, just like in the flood. As we continue on, we're going to see why. Chapter 9, verse 18. After God gives a promise, this is what happens in verse 18. The sons of Noah who came out of the ark were Shem, Ham, and Japheth. Ham was the father of Canaan, and these were the 3 sons of Noah, and from them came the people who were scattered all over the whole earth. Noah, a man of the soil, proceeded to plant a vineyard. When he drank some of its wine, he became drunk and lay uncovered inside his tent. Ham, the father of Canaan, saw his father naked and told his 2 brothers outside. Whoa! Holy boogers, as Kate says. But Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it across their shoulders. Then they walked backward and covered their father's naked body. Their faces were turned the other way so that they would not see their father naked. When Noah awoke from his wine and found out what his youngest son had done, he said, "Cursed is Canaan, the lowest of slaves, he will be to his brothers." And then in verse 28, after he blesses his other 2 brothers, he says, after the flood, Noah lived 350 years, and Noah lived a total of 950 years, and then he died. In this, the Bible, whenever it talks about drinking, whenever it talks about getting drunk, I don't know if you guys know this, but it always talks about getting drunk in a shameful light. Meaning it's not okay to get drunk. It's okay to have alcohol when you're 21 and you're of age and legally can purchase and consume alcohol. But you're not supposed to get drunk. You're supposed to be alert and of sober mind so that you may pray in every situation. So what the Bible is doing here is it's actually shaming Noah. It's showing Noah failed to live up to God's standard of perfection. And the beauty about this, and the beauty about God's promise to take on God's wrath in Jesus, is even when Noah failed, the beautiful thing about the Bible, the beautiful thing about the gospel, is that even when Noah failed, God's promise in Jesus prevailed. God's promise for a new humanity, even when Noah fails to live out this new standard, this new humanity, to completely be a new pattern of Adam, Jesus picks that up and says, you know what? I can do it. I can prevail. Even when you and I fail, Jesus prevails. So my question to you, as we wrap up this sermon, as we wrap up the flood and the promise, chapters 4 through 10 of Genesis, a gnarly story where God destroys all of humanity and starts over, and that even doesn't work out. My question and challenge to you is, where in your life are you failing to live out God's design? Where in your life are you failing to live out God's design? Even if you're a new creation, even after you got baptized, like some of you did at Whitewater, my guess is you somehow, as you came home from Whitewater, as you came home from making a promise saying, you know, I'm going to live out this new way. I'm going to live out this new life in Jesus. Sir, can you please put the knife away? Please put the spoon shank away. Thank you. Even as some of you guys came home from Whitewater and made this promise that, hey, you're going to live up to this new life in Jesus, my guess is some of you guys fell into an old pattern of sin. Some of you guys are now back to cussing at school, back to hanging out with friends that you shouldn't be hanging out with in school, back to looking at things on your phone that you shouldn't be looking at, back to talking back to your parents, back to not living up to God's desire. Where in your life do you need to humbly surrender your life to God and try and live in God's design by surrendering it to God and relying on Jesus? Where in your life do you need to fully trust in the promise of Jesus? I don't know what that is for you, but as we end here today, I just want to pray for you guys. If you want to resurrender your life to Jesus in this moment, if you want to say, hey, you know what, God, I want to surrender this aspect of my life to you, I'm going to say a prayer. And if you're totally fine with Jesus, I'm going to continue to pray. Say that second prayer with me. So God, thank you for bringing us here today on this beautiful Sunday. Thank you for showing us a crazy story in the book of Genesis through the person Noah, where you just destroyed all of humanity in your wrath. May we never forget that you do so lovingly out of your authority because you have the authority over all creation, God. But may we also look to the promise that you gave us in Jesus and in the rainbow, in your kashet, that you alone took on your own wrath, God. Whatever it is that we're going through in our lives, or we turn back to old patterns of sin, God, or we're not living up to your design, God, may we simply just re-surrender our lives in this moment to you, God, and simply just trust in you and your promise, in the fact that you prevailed on the cross, taking on your own wrath through the person of Jesus, God. And if we're still just faithfully walking with you, God, may we just continue to walk closer and closer and faithfully every day with you, God. May you show us what it means to daily walk with you and daily follow the sound of your voice. We love you and pray this in your name. Amen. We love you guys.